Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for another sprint zone. This one's for 718, heading into the final stretch of County Road 5. And the group has been pretty orderly. Lots of colorful kit this year, and I really like it. Nice to see that folks like Greg and Isla are in their FCCT kits. Sweetness as more and more people embrace the cycling community at large. Anyway, ahead of me, we got Marcelo in the colorful jersey to my right, John in the Jumbo Vismo, Ian representing Italy, which this must be his new favorite kit because it's like the Union Jack is not like being represented. But it's game on. So we make the corner here, and I was expecting the typical lethargy, but what we got here was anything but. So Ben Nelson is on his TT bike and he hits it hard, like straight away. There are some people that are paying attention and others are just waiting to be towed up. I pass Greg there and I make the statement I am not chasing anybody on a TT bike. That's like bringing an atomic bomb to a knife fight. And it's been on the thing. So anyway, I make my way up through, trying to catch at least the folks that are chasing. I make my way up to Joel, who seems like he's got more sense than to chase these fools also, waiting for more help as I come by. Looks like we got Wolfgang up there and Danny. And here's a good shot of Joel looking strong. And I would like to make a shout out to Joel's wife, Danny. I got to meet her the day before the Foco Fondo. I can see why, once again, Joel keeps his fitness because his wife is doing the race and he is not. Enough said about that. Don't want to start any family fights. Well, maybe I just did. Joel, you can talk to me next week. Anyway, there goes Joel hitting it hard, going after those that are up front. And I believe what has happened is maybe Tony up there, maybe James Stevens. But we can look at some of the carnage. Even the big man, the legend, Matthew Michaels, has not even gone to the front yet. And we can see that there has been a semi selection created already. Scott on my wheel. We got Danny back there, the big man, Beast back there, and now we are starting to get organized. There's James Stevens in the blue as we start to coagulate here. Now, I remember this portion of the ride, like, there's a little bit of wind coming off our left shoulder, and, like, basically Marcel's guttering us here. And I might have yelled something to that fact, but maybe that's a good tactic. But I was starting to hurt here, and you could see that the speed is not slow. We're doing, like, 26 miles an hour, or at least close to it. And yeah, and the game is on. So you'll notice that the format changed from 9 by 16 to 235 by 1. Error on my point, but I do like the cinematic 23.5 better. But comment if you like the big screen or the widescreen, and maybe I will accommodate. Anyway, now things are starting to hot up. Matthew, Michael's going to the front, starting to chase down the big men, and we have a nice crew all in tow. Scott there, Marcelo there, Danny there, Greg back there, and up front here, the Fab Three. Matthew holding it down and nicely going to the center of the road so that he gives shelter to everybody. This is a rider who is aware of what's going on. And I believe I might have the last slot in this echelon. Looks like Scott might have a little bit of shelter there. And I was trying not to steal everything from Wolfgang. So I sacrificed some of my draft to allow somebody back there, as I could be a little bit further over, but this was good enough. So Matthew's out there for it seems like forever. And we're looking at my watts here, 25 miles an hour, fluctuating from the 140s all the way up to the low threes. And it is hard. And Marcelo gives it up as he was not in the shelter and needs to call it a day. Maybe he can find somebody back there to sag back to that will give him shelter. Interesting that, and this happens even in the TTH, there's nobody setting up a second echelon. It's like, look at these guys. They're all strung out like a kite. No one wants to go out, or maybe nobody's strong enough to start a second echelon, or maybe it just didn't occur to them. But anyhow, it is the sprint zone. you can do what you want, and maybe there's race brain here and nobody's thinking about it. But regardless, I'm happy. I got my slot in the first echelon behind strong men, so life is good. So, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for some, there's a traffic stop up ahead, and it's going to allow those that were already out of the selection to come back in. So we're starting to slow down, and before we have to actually stop, we're given the green light. But it's enough for us to have brought back the recalcitrants. Ben Nelson, Todd Mellinger, and Tony Riccio brought back, and now it is game afoot all over. And Ben goes hard here. Ben goes hard, and he wants to go slight violation of the yellow line, but since it was the passing zone, I'll just comment about that here. But he is going off the front, and I don't think anybody is chasing. Now we look rearwards. We see some of the weaklings that were not able to make the first selection are given a second chance, and that be JVP and the other John back there. So now I am unfortunately fifth slot in this echelon, but I still have a reasonable amount of shelter here, as Matthew is generous with his draft. And maybe if this was like TTH or somebody else, it would be all strung out. Kind of surprised that James and Mr. Mellinger haven't started a second echelon back there, but maybe they're here for a reason. If they wanted to work, they'd have gone to TTH. That being said, you can see some more of the carnage, and I can't see who's way back there, but people are being discarded, and this is the way it should be. Now, James Stevens, I'm gonna get a good look at him heading towards the front to give the big man a break, as he didn't want one or nobody volunteered to come up front. So he told me that he slightly violated the yellow line rule, and it's on the edge here. Kind of sketch when you have cars coming like this close. That always scares me, even though we're in our lane, but being that close. But anyhow, here we go, and we're going a little bit faster, 29 miles per hour. I mean, this is like no joke here. And there are others, even more people being discarded. And I can see people on the rivet. Looks like JVP is struggling. Looks like John is struggling back there. And this is part of what I don't actually get to see when I'm in the thick of things. But you can see it now. Oh, and it's a pretty echelon. James Stevens still up front doing his piece, and this is giving the big man a chance to settle in and rest. I kind of wish I had his numbers, but maybe next time, as I'm just kind of figuring out the new process and it's taking a little bit more time, but that's okay, and I digress. Anyway, this thing says my heart rate's at 175, 176. That's like really high for me. So either I'm getting like better or my heart's getting stronger because normally like in the low 170s, high 160s is it. But oh, and look, another ejection. JVP and John cut out of the selection. Sayonara. As Mr. Stevens comes back to try to get himself a little bit of shelter. And here we are approaching the final grade. And let's see if anything is going to happen. So I am not on the rivet, but I don't really have anything to really contribute to the folks up front. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I'll hang with anybody that tries to do anything, maybe, but I'm not going for it because Matthew has worked hard here and he deserves it. And now there's Joel going to the front willingly and throwing it down. So look at my wattage here. We're talking 300. Look at that, 400 watts as Scott goes. And at this point, I was thinking, should I go with him? And my thoughts were, yeah, I could go with him, but there's like dishonor there. But 4, 5, 600 watts there, and we'll see what's happened. Oh, Wolfgang ejected while Mr. Mellinger hangs on. I make it past Joel with a mere 2, 300 watts, but I am not looking to sprint this one out as Scott is up the road. Don't know what to say about that, but work was hard. Mr. Mellinger, he's like, dude, thanks for doing all the work. And he gives me the congratulations for keeping them in a podium position. Nice work, Joel. Very well done. I can see all that SOAR and WAR and Friday rides, not to mention all that running, is making you strong. Anyway, a good time was had by all. I enjoyed this one. Finally made the final selection enough to see who actually won that one. And congrats to Scott for winning that one. Nicely played, nicely played. Until next time. Oh, I guess I should say Ben actually won that, but he's on that aero bike, so you know, the best of all the rest, we'll give it there. Anyway, peace out, y'all. Until next time.